What is up, guys? Today we're going to be comparing the Bold M1 versus the Huawei P20 Lite. Both retail for 200 bucks, and I'll tell you why the P20 Lite actually retails for 200 bucks still, being a kind of older phone, because I use this as my daily driver for I think a year, and it's actually a pretty good phone. But let's go ahead and see why the Bold M1 is so good, and let's go ahead and compare the hardware. So you pretty much have a glass and metal design on the Bold M1. You get kind of a psychedelic kind of color thing going on. Dual camera setup, flash. You got your buttons on the side, aluminum frame. You flip it over to the front, and of course you have the full display, no notch pop-up camera, built-in fingerprint scanner on the display. And we look at the Huawei P20 Lite, we have an aluminum frame, dual camera setup. We do have the buttons on the side, fingerprint scanner, flash. And on the bottom of both these phones, we have USB Type-C and one firing speaker. And on the P20 Lite, as you can see, you have a little notch. It's not a water drop notch exactly, but it's kind of like in the middle. Kinda, it's not like super huge, but it is. It's okay. You do have kind of big bezels on here at the bottom, Huawei logo. Overall, they both are really nice looking phones. Now, the first thing that's going to pop out is the AMOLED display. On the Bold M1 is a 6.4 inch AMOLED display. It's 1080 by 2340, 403 for the PPI Gorilla Glass 5. And on the P20 Lite, you have an IPS LCD. It's a 5.84 inch, 1080 by 2280, so both 1080p. And this actually has a higher pixel density at 432. And all that means is that if you look really close, the text is going to be a little bit more sharper. Icons are going to be a little bit more defined on this display. So this is a really nice display, even for an IPS display. It gives off some really nice vibrant colors and some pretty deep black, so very interesting. Now on the Bold M1, you actually have 128 gigabytes of storage with micro SD up to 128 gigabytes, and you have 4 gigabytes of RAM. On the P20 Lite, this model actually has 32 gigabytes of storage, but you can expand that with micro SD up to 256 gigs, and you do have 4 gigabytes of RAM. With this guy, they're both running Android 9.0. This is the EM UI 9.0 skin on here. You also have the Kirin 659 processor on here, and you have the Helio P70 processor on the Bold M1. Now when you're watching videos and movies or whatever, as you can see, you're going to have a better experience on the Bold M1, mostly because of you do not have that notch right here. And the display is bigger, but a lot of people don't actually care about that. Some people will prefer, a little notch because it does have a mechanical part for the pop-up camera. Some people are, they don't know if it's going to work a year or two from now. So, but I haven't had any problems with it at all. But watching content, as you can see, is almost identical on both these phones, even though it's an AMOLED display. I do think the Bold M1 looks slightly better, especially when it comes to the colors. Now let's go ahead and check out the speaker quality on both, starting with the P20 Lite. So the Bold M1 definitely has the more fuller and better speakers. The P20 Lite sounds a little bit flat. Now let's go ahead and clear all apps and check out a little speed test. So we're going to start with YouTube. 3, 2, 1. Almost the same. Let's go ahead and try the Play Store. 3, 2, 1. So they're basically the same when launching apps. Let's try a game. Try 8 Ball. 3, 2, 1. So the Bold M1 much faster when launching games. The P20 Lite still struggling. Now you have a 16 megapixel camera On the Bold M1 and a 5 megapixel depth sensor. On the P20 Lite you have a 16 megapixel camera and a 2 megapixel depth sensor. So both these phones are actually missing the wide angle camera. So if you don't care about it, then obviously you don't care, but a lot of people actually like that feature, so it sucks that both of these are missing it. They both shoot in 1080p, and this is the reason why they can still sell this phone for 200 bucks. This actually has a really good camera. It's much better than the Bold M1 right off the bat. Color accuracy is right. The Bold M1 kind of struggles with pictures. That's the only thing with it. You know, if you put Gcam on it, you get better photos, but if you put Gcam on this, you get better photos. So the Huawei P20 Lite has a much better image processing. You get better colors. Here's another photo. As you can see, the color accuracy is more correct on the Huawei P20 Lite, and you also get a little bit more detail when you zoom in. Now, as far as the depth sensor, I think this takes better close-up shots. The Bold M1, as you can see right here, you got more blur. The P20 Lite kind of struggled with focusing with this shot. But for the front-facing cameras, the Huawei P20 Lite beats the Bold M1 by a mile. Its color accuracy, right, it's more sharp. So overall, the cameras are a little bit better on the P20 Lite. Now, you got a headphone jack on both, a fingerprint scanner on both, and as far as the fingerprint scanner speeds, they're pretty good on both. So as you can see, the Bold M1 works fine. If you do it right, you have no problems with that built-in fingerprint scanner. And on the P20 Lite, the physical one is almost instant. It's extremely fast. You know, as far as, you know, I think most people would prefer a Instagram fingerprint scanner. It's just more cool, and you know, it's more up to date, a little bit more modern than the old school physical one. Now, you have a 3,500 milliamp battery with the Bold M1, and you're getting about a day of battery life with this phone. So about 6 to 7 hours of battery life, depending on how hard you use it, with fast charging at 18 watts. And now you do have a 3,000 milliamp battery on the P20 Lite, and I find myself charging this phone up all the time. So I'm sure you can get through a day. I'm thinking you get about 6 hours of battery life. So 6, maybe 7 hours on here, depending on how I use them. So this also has an 18 watt fast charging. But for battery life, I think the Bold M1 is actually a bit better.